everybody. Thank you so much for joining us. I see the numbers are growing, so we still got some people logging in. We are going to start in just a couple more minutes as we have more people get on the webinar. But if you are here for the Undeclared Exploratory webinar, you're in the right spot. So just sit tight for a little bit. If you want to let us know where you're coming in from, you can go ahead and drop that in the chat. Hopefully it's not super, super hot where you are. It's definitely hot where we are. So if you have any tips for staying cool, feel free to drop those in the chat also. I'm sure we would love to know them.
Or tips on how you're staying cool right now if you're in the hot weather.
Yeah. Let's see.
.105 in SoCal.
Oh, nice.
I think it's even getting hot in the Bay Area. So sometimes, you know, it's a little bit cooler there, but I feel like everybody's getting the heat pretty much.
Yeah.
East Bay, 104. Out of town, Washington State. Oh, 88 is very nice.
We're envying you right now. 88.
Yeah. I really wish.
Oh,
Ooh,
77. Someone from Japan. Nice.
Well, welcome to the Zoom from across the Pacific.
And if you kind of just joined, we were just asking where people are coming to us from. We're giving people like about 2 more minutes maybe to join the webinar before we really get started with things. So thank you to those of you who shared so far how the weather is and where you are. .107, California.
Yeah, it's currently 107 here in Davis.
So if any of you are planning to take summer school later on in the future, be prepared for the hot summer weather in California, Davis.
It does stay a little bit warm here kind of through October even, I think. Hopefully not that warm though.
Nice. 77 near Oakland. I'll take that. Well, I think we can go ahead and get started here. Welcome to all of you who have joined. We're really excited to have you here. Our Undeclared Exploratory work group here in the College of Agricultural and Environmental Sciences is excited to welcome you to the college, help answer some of your initial questions, and looking forward to talking about some of the things that you'll experience as you get started here at UC Davis. A couple housekeeping things as we get started here. When we look at Zoom and its functionality, feel free to use the Q&A function. If you have any individual questions, you'll find the Q&A box at the bottom of your Zoom page. We will also save a lot of time for questions at the end of our webinar today. So we will certainly answer any things that come up and look forward to talking with you.
Still?
Yeah.
So you should now see our agenda. We're going to go over, as Joe said, some different things to kind of get you started in planning for your first quarter at UC Davis. We want you to feel prepared, but we also want you to know that you can really take this time to ask us your questions. And so we'll have some kind of reflection in here to kind of think about how you are wanting to start your experience at UC Davis and kind of what your goals are. So we'll start with introductions. Since I'm already talking, I guess I'll tell you. I'm Haley Hill. I'm one of the advisors in the dean's office. I tend to work at the front desk, so you will see me if you come in. And if you email us, I'm usually responding to those emails. So feel free to send us your questions that way too, even aside from when you are meeting with us through these opportunities. We do want to share tips along the way. So just my tip to start off would be to get involved in your time at UC Davis. It's a really great way to build community and make yourself a lasting memory of your time at UC Davis.
Hi, everyone. My name is Hong Dao, one of the academic advisor in the dean's office. I use she, her pronouns. I've been in the office for over 8 years here now. My tip for you all is come to our office if you have any questions. There's no stupid or dumb questions. No embarrassing questions. I know this university is very large. There's a lot of resources here on campus. If you don't know where to start, come start with us. We will refer you. We could provide you with additional information. This is our way to kind of start our partnership by coming and talk to us any questions that you may have.
And hello, everybody. My name is Joe Lee, and I'm another one of the academic advisors here in the College of Agricultural and Environmental Sciences. I've been working in advising services for just over 16 years. I've been with the College of Ag Dean's office since March of 2012. I look forward to getting to know many of you. I would say one key tip and one main thing that I want to encourage you to get comfortable with is taking advantage of office hours. Office hours are dedicated times each week that your instructors and TAs for your classes will host open hours for you to come and ask questions about class and anything covered in lectures or other discussion sections. They are also a great way for you to network, getting to know people for internship, research, and other opportunities. So really starting to think about getting the most out of your office hours is what I would recommend and encourage.
Alrighty, we are going to be turning our cameras off for a little bit. We're still here, but we're going to just go through the slides. Again, we'll have some time later to answer some questions for you at the end, but just want you to be able to focus on the content. So first thing we're going to do is one of those reflections that I was talking about. We are going to do a mental push-up or a warm-up of sorts, and we want to know how your friends and family would describe you, or how you would describe yourself in 3 words or less, if you can do that. I know that's a little bit tricky sometimes, especially when you're put on the spot, but if you could go ahead and drop that in the chat, definitely take a little bit to think about it. Anyone have any thoughts about how others would describe you? Creative and chill, resilient, kind, nerdy, silly, a Disney adult, that's an interesting one. Absolute beast. Thank you, those who've shared so far. Kind, creative, nerdy. A very cool person. Quiet, creative, kind. Seeing a lot of kind people out there, which is really nice to know we'll have on campus. Funny, lazy, artsy, kind, ambitious, open-minded, creative and quiet, artistic and helpful, busy and inquisitive, If you continue to have those that come to mind, go ahead and continue putting them in the chat. Love to see them. And really, the point of this exercise is not just to get you warmed up and get you thinking, but really to illustrate that every single one of you brings so many different parts of yourself to your experience at UC Davis. And we are going to get a little philosophical for a moment, but that's something that can easily be forgotten when you are trying to check all the boxes and meet all your requirements. And, you know, of course, as advisors, we really do want you to prioritize your academics and prioritize being a student, but we want you to remember that you do bring who you are, what you think of yourself, what other people think of you to this experience. And those things can be incorporated into the way that you approach your time here. And we definitely want to hear those things from you as you meet with us. And we want to get to know you so that we can help you kind of steer your course in a way that makes sense for you.
Thanks, Haley. As we start our time, we certainly want to acknowledge that for undeclared and exploratory, that can mean a lot of different things to a lot of different students. And here in the College of Agricultural and Environmental Sciences, we look at this kind of like a spectrum, if you will, that students might be undeclared for a variety of different reasons. Some of you might have a pretty good idea of the major that you want to pursue here at UC Davis and just happen to select undeclared when you applied originally. For some of you, it might be a situation where you have an area of interest. Maybe you're interested in the environmental sciences, but you're not quite sure what specific major you'd like to pursue. And then for others, it might be a situation where you're really, truly undecided. You don't have any idea of what type of major you want to do. And honestly, wherever you're at on that spectrum, we're here to support you. We want to meet with you. We want to get to know you, get to understand your interests, your goals, your skills, abilities, things that make you excited or things that you're passionate about, to help serve you and help guide you as you figure out some of these next steps. Being undeclared means that you get to decide for the next couple years what those steps may look like for you. And as you look back at your time here at UC Davis, we want to, or I should say, look ahead at your time at UC Davis. We want to encourage you to explore different areas of interest and things like that. We do expect that you declare a major by the end of your second year at UC Davis. So that does give you quite a bit of time to figure things out, try new things. So we don't want you to feel as though you need to make a decision right away. If you don't declare a major by 90 units, we'll be meeting with you and making sure that you have a plan in place to get to that official declaration process.
All right. So during your time here at UC Davis, just want to share a little bit about the academic advising support here. The advising here at the university level is very, very different than your high school, or if some of you are a transfer student, the community college as well. While you're in high school or at a community college, you may have just one advisor that you go for course planning and for degree requirement. Here at UC Davis, there is a large wide of different network of support to help you get to your degree. So there's 4 different, you'll see a little pie chart here. You have your major advisor that is here to support you. You have us in the dean's office. You also have faculty advisor. I know Joe touched upon this a little bit. I'll dive in a little bit more. And you also have major peer advisors as well. Next slide, Haley. So during your time here, you'll see this Venn diagram here. So the major advisors, like I mentioned, you have a wide network of support here. So for your major advisor, since you all are undeclared exploratory students, we're your major advisor until you identify what major you want to pursue. if you have a major in mind, it's important that you talk to us and also your intended major advisor at the same time and take courses based on what they recommend for you for that particular major that you're interested in. So if you are unclear what major direction, come talk to us. We can help you with that. If you have a identified major, this is where the major advisor can help you with questions on what classes should I be taking? How do I get involved in this major? They may able to provide you with research and internship opportunity. They may be able to also connect you with different faculty in that department as well. And you'll see here on the right, the dean's office in blue, since we're your major advisor now, we can help you with that major exploration, provide you with resources and support to kind of help you identify what major that will be best suitable for you. We also go over university general education and college requirement as well. As I mentioned earlier, you're coming to a university with a lot of different college policy and procedure, which you may not be aware about. So anytime you have questions about a certain, like, can I do this? Can I do that? Come talk to us. We can elaborate a little bit more on those policy and let you know those different, regulations that are in place for that. And then we could also connect you to campus resources as well. So you'll see in the middle, this Venn diagram, you'll see there's this dark navy blue. There's an overlap between the major and the dean's office. So as you're talking to your major in our office, we may provide you with recommendation with what classes to take. We may refer you to different campus resources, such as touring services on campus. And those are free services. You have pay your tuition. So those are free. So take advantage of that. And depending on your interest, we may recommend different extracurricular opportunities for you, different clubs on campus that you may want to consider to join. So the major advisor, they specialize on the major. So we usually will refer you back to the major advisor on course planning. And when you meet with your major, they will most likely refer you back to our office for the college university GE requirement. So we collaborate with the major, and that's where there's kind of that overlap. As I mentioned earlier, you may want to also, what Joe mentioned earlier about the faculty advisor and get connected to them, is that there are great resources if you're having difficulty in your class, and they can also provide you with mentorship. So anytime that you're having difficulty in your class, you should definitely check in with our office, but also check in with the professor to see what additional support they can provide to you to help you successfully pass the class. And then we also have the peer advisor in our in the college as well, but also in the major level department. Peer advisor are students like yourself. They are in that particular major. They can provide you with course recommendation. They can help you schedule an academic plan as well, based off of your course scheduling, and if you have any prerequisites, all of that. The peer advisor are a great resource to let you know, oh, this you should take this professor, or you should take this class. They can provide you with just more of why they're pursuing this major, which can give you a little bit more insights on, okay, maybe this major is, for me, or this major is not for me. So don't be afraid to ask for help as you begin your journey here. We're here to kind of support you along the way during your time here at Davis.
Alrighty, so Hong and Joe have both touched on the fact that there really is a wealth of resources that are available to you at UC Davis. As Hong mentioned, we might sometimes refer you to these resources. Sometimes your major advisor or other advisors will also refer you to them, but there's a lot that you can find on your own, and we want to highlight a few different resources and organizations that you might want to become involved with. Kind of going back to that mental push-up, everyone is going to have their own experience at UC Davis and their own goals, and so you can kind of decide which things outside your academics you might want to explore and pursue to further your goals and to just, get involved in something that you're interested in, to make your time here an enjoyable time, and to connect to other people who are on campus. So a couple of those organizations that you have access to and that you can get involved with as students in the College of Ag would be Manners and also Aggie Ambassadors. So both of these are run by the College of Ag, and really students in these organizations take a main leadership role. And we of course support them as the college, but it's really something that you can get involved in to build your leadership skills, to get to know other people, to network with people in the professional community in like the ag industry or other industries that you might be interested in. So particularly, you might want to be involved in Manners if you know that you want to go into the ag industry, and if you want to connect with others. They often go to conferences. They do a lot of speaking and engagement with the community and things like that. So there's the club, and then there's also a class component that you could even take if you are interested in that. We don't have the course registration number or the CRN for that course yet, but you can always go to their website, which Hong dropped into the chat, and you can see where to contact them for more information. For Aggie Ambassadors, those are students who work on leadership, community, and outreach projects. So they often do community service events. They work with our college to put on events for our students. They have a class where they get to know each other, and they kind of get more leadership experience and event planning experience. So those are both great options if you feel like you are really interested in honing like leadership skills, or building community with other people through events and whatnot. We also have Aggie Jumpstart. There is a note on there that applications were due July 8th, but this is a great organization too within our college, and there's a link now in the chat where you can find more information. But basically, this organization really allows students who are in first gen, low income, underrepresented, underserved communities to get to know other students and get to work with two of our advisors, as well as mentors who are students like them, and our Aggie Jumpstart coordinator. And they really do a ton of events throughout the year that are very fun and then also very informative. So that's a great organization to be involved in if you really want to get to know others at UC Davis, and maybe you are kind of new to learning about what it's like to be on a college campus. I think we mentioned this before, but there's also Career Discovery Group, which is a class as well. So if you all are kind of thinking about your schedule, it's good to keep these different classes in mind to supplement your schedule. If you're wanting to kind of explore different career options and you're not necessarily sure what field you want to go into yet, or even if you are, CDG is a good option for you for first years. It's a 3-quarter program that you can enroll in fall, winter, and spring. And you can get course credit for it while getting to know mentors, doing some networking, learning about different fields. And you know, it's really small groups for the most part, 20 to 25 students per section. So it's a great way to get to know people better who maybe also are exploring their interests like you might be. For transfer students, we do offer it just 1 quarter during the first quarter. So there should be information about that linked in the chat as well. This is definitely not an exhaustive list. This is not a full list of every community group or organization or center on campus. We have so many that it would be really hard to put them all on one slide, but we're highlighting a few here that are really good places to kind of have a connection with others again on campus and build community. They are often affiliated with different identity groups, so you can kind of find people who relate to you or who you identify with. And a couple of them on here, like the Center for African Diaspora Student Success, Center for Chicanx and Latinx, Academic Student Success, and then the Native American Academic Student Success Center. I think we have a couple on there, or a couple that are not on there, but they are retention initiatives, so they also provide some advising and really want to see students succeed, see students stay on campus and be successful. So they're another resource that you can go to. A lot of these places have spaces where you can go and can study, can engage with other people. They have events, cross-cultural center, LGBTQIA center, WRRC. They all are very welcoming to students and offer programs and different things that you can attend to kind of, again, find community and have a sense of belonging on campus.
All right. Thank you so much, Haley, for sharing those campus and community resources. We're going to shift gears a little bit and kind of dive into different requirements and registration. Next slide, please. All right, so just briefly here, these are the requirements in College of Ag, briefly for degree requirements. So during your time here, I'm not going to spend too much time on this, but during your time here, until you graduate, there are different sets of requirements in order for you to get your UC Davis degree. We have university requirements. So whether you decide to declare a major in College of Ag or switch out of College of Agriculture and Environmental Sciences, university requirement or requirement that all students, doesn't matter what major or college that you're in, you all have the same sets of university requirement. You also, depending on which college you're in, if you stay in College of Ag or switch out to the other 3 colleges, each college requirement are different. Our requirement are different than the other 3 colleges. So if you decide to keep a College of Ag, make sure that you come in talk to us about our college requirement, which also include the general education requirements. And then anything related to your major, once you identify a major, this is where you have to work closely with your major to complete your major degree. We will have a workshop on understanding, College of Agriculture and Environmental Sciences degree requirements. So I do encourage you to attend those in the fall or winter if it fits with your availability. All right, so just some scheduling tips. I'm just going to provide you with some tips on how to build a quarter schedule. It doesn't just apply during your first quarter here, but just during the rest of your time here at UC Davis. So the first recommendation is to have a balanced schedule. If you are thinking of a STEM major, we do recommend a max of 2 science classes per quarter. Add in some general education. Haley went over a whole bunch of different organization and leadership opportunities like the Manor, Ag Ambassador, CDG, to kind of get you to add like different seminar courses. So add those in to your schedule. Start your English composition. So you want to take a well-balanced course load. To make sure that you don't overload yourself with all just sciencey classes or just a schedule that's just all heavy in writing experience as well. Take a balanced coursework so you have a mix of a little bit of everything. Prerequisites. This is very, very important. Make sure you have all the prerequisites satisfied before you register for each course, especially the placement exam for your first quarter here. We're going to be diving into the placement exam further, more in detail in the next few slides here. But just want to make sure we're going to go over the chemistry, math, English placement exams. So make sure that if you're applying to chemistry or math or English, make sure that you fulfill those prerequisites so you can stay enrolled in this course. Different ways to determine if you met the prerequisite. Definitely look at the general catalog, the UC Davis general catalog. Schedule builder, it will give you a little bit more detail if the class has any prerequisite, making sure that you satisfy that, and making sure that you don't take a course out of sequence without having the prerequisite. So for example, if you take chemistry, general chemistry, which students can start with chemistry 2A. If you don't have a sufficient grade in the class, meaning having a C- or better, we don't recommend that you continue into Chem 2B in the winter quarter. We do recommend that you repeat the Chem 2A to have a strong foundation before moving on to the next part of the sequence of the course. So we want to make sure that you understand and have a very strong foundation so you could be successful in the next part of the series. The next bullet here, recommend 15 units during your first quarter here. This is just an average. If your goal is to graduate in 4 years, earlier we kind of went over the degree requirements. One of the university requirement is that every student needs to have a minimum 180 total units. So in order to reach the 180 total units, that means you need to, and you want to finish in 4 years, that means you need to take an average of 15 units per quarter, which means 45 units completed in 1 year, and you do 45 times 4, that's how you hit the 180. It's okay, you don't have to take 15 units. If the 15 units is too heavy of a workload for you, we do recommend 12 to 15 units. This is where you may consider taking summer school to kind of offset if you want to finish in 4 years. And it's okay if you need to, extend your graduation for another quarter, 2 quarters, or even a year. Okay, we have seen that. But we recommend 12 to 15, but also have a balanced schedule with that. One thing to note is that if you waitlist for a class, especially if you are a financial recipient, financial does not count waitlist as part of their full-time status for enrollment if you are getting financial aid, especially if some of your financial aid is tied to units such as the Cal Grant or Pell Grant. So make sure that you have registered units. I know we're going to go over a little bit about entry-level writing in a bit, so I'm not going to not going to go over that too much right now, but making sure that you take the writing placement survey, and you meet the, depending on that, take the appropriate course for that. Earlier when I mentioned about balanced schedule, make sure you take 1 or 2 classes toward a major that you're interested in. So if you are interested in multiple majors, take class, in this major and then maybe some class in a different major. If the major that you are interested in requires chemistry and math, we do recommend starting that so you don't delay the requirements to proceed on into taking the other required course in the major. And like I mentioned, in between your balanced schedule, take fun GE classes and also freshman seminars.
So as we look ahead at writing requirements at UC Davis, there's a couple things that we want to make sure students are aware of as they get started. The entry-level writing requirement is a requirement that is a UC requirement. It actually applies to all incoming UC students. And it's a requirement that states that students have to complete an entry-level writing course or event within their first 3 quarters at UC Davis. There's also, in addition to that entry-level writing requirement, an English composition requirement, which is specific to the college that you are in, so the College of Ag and Environmental Sciences. And then there's also a writing experience component to your general education. This can get very confusing because we're talking about 3 different English composition writing requirements. And so these are excellent things to check in with our office about to make sure you have an understanding of what your classes are going to satisfy and what they're going to count toward. Having your entry-level writing requirement satisfied is a prerequisite for both college composition and writing experience credit. So for the entry-level writing requirement, incoming students may satisfy the entry-level writing requirement in a variety of different ways. Students can start at Davis with their entry-level writing requirements satisfied by virtue of having a qualifying score on the ACT exam, the SAT exam, or even through AP or IB credit completed while in high school. Additionally, you as a student have the opportunity to take a writing survey, a UC Davis writing placement survey. And Haley I'm sorry, Hong just put the link into our chat with the information about that. Through this writing placement survey, if you place into path 4, that satisfies your entry-level writing requirement. If you place into path 3, you will then need to satisfy your entry-level writing requirement. At UC Davis, after you start, there are different class options rather, that you can take to satisfy the entry-level writing requirement. So this is something you need to be mindful of during your first year, and we recommend making sure that you prioritize this starting with your first quarter here at UC Davis. We want to make sure that you are making the progress you need to be, and since this is a requirement that has to be done by the end of your first 3 quarters, we want to make sure that you start that early and often. So next we have the English composition requirement, or college English composition requirement. After you have satisfied your entry-level writing requirement, you may then work on satisfying the college composition requirement. Unlike the entry-level writing requirement, the college English composition requirement can be satisfied by the end of your time here at UC Davis. So this doesn't have to be satisfied within your first year or 2 years. It just has to be done by the time you end your studies here at UC Davis. Students can take a combination of classes, as you can see from the lists on your screen. You could use AP credit for half of the composition requirement and then take a course. And then the third option, there is a writing placement or English upper division composition exam that students become eligible to take after they've completed 70 units here at UC Davis. So few different ways that you can satisfy the English composition requirement. It is important to remember you need a C- or better, or pass, or better grade in order to be able to satisfy the English composition requirement.
All right, I'm going to go over the chemistry and math placement exam. So if you have identified a major that requires chemistry and math as part of your major requirement, then you will need to satisfy this placement exam. If you pick a major, just say, for example, like history, and you're not planning to take a chemistry or math class ever in your life, you are not required to take the placement exam. But for those who do need to take the chemistry and chemistry or math course, for the chemistry, you do need to take the placement exam. There are 2 options: is take the placement exam. If you enroll in Chem 2A, you will need to get a score of a 24 on the chemistry placement exam to enroll in the Chem 2A. And if you decide to do Chem 4A, you will need a score of a 28 or higher in that placement exam to enroll in the class. Your other option is you could complete a preparatory course, Chem 1 or Chem 1V. And if you get a C- or better, then you can just proceed on to Chem 2A or the Chem 4A. If you enroll in a class for Chem 2A or Chem 4A, and you do not meet the requirements to stay enrolled, the chemistry department will administratively drop the course. So it's very important that you meet these prerequisites so you don't encounter this situation. So if you have missed your window to take the exam, when you sign up for your classes, you could enroll in the Chem 2A or 4A with a caveat that the next placement exam schedule, you take the exam and you get the qualifying score. If not, make sure you have backup plan. So for the math, any students who are registering for Math 12, 17A, 19A, 21A, or 21M, you do need to take the math placement exam and getting the qualifying score to stay enrolled in a class. Very similar to the chemistry, if you enroll in the math and you don't get the qualifying score, the math department will administratively drop you from that course. And for that, there is no exception from the SAT, AP, or IB, or any class that you have taken elsewhere. If you have taken the equivalent of the Math 12, 17A, 19A, 21A, 21B at a different community college, and that's the course equivalent here at Davis, you cannot repeat that here at Davis because that will be considered duplication of credit. And I'll drop some links in the chat in terms of more information about the chemistry and also about the math placement and the scoring and all of that.
Thanks so much, Hong and Joe, for sharing information about our placement exams and also our requirements, such as ELWR, English composition, writing experience, and all those things to be aware of. If you are thinking now about what's next, we will soon be kind of wrapping this up and ending with a Q&A portion so that you can get some questions answered today. But in addition to that, there will be other opportunities to meet with us and to access advising with our office. So we will be sending out additional information via email about all of them, but just to kind of give you a heads up, we wanted to let you know that there will be several group advising sessions throughout the rest of this month, just to kind of give you a smaller group setting and the option to talk to an advisor one-on-one if you still have some questions about how to put together your schedule. We do realize that we are going over a lot of information and that you have other information that you've already been going through in Aggie advising, maybe in some of your exploration of different major websites. So we want to really give you another chance to discuss potential schedule, different registration questions with us during those group advising times before you have your Pass 1 appointments. Speaking of Pass 1 appointments, those will be coming up. We are going to be offering registration support through the dean's office on those dates. So we will be sending out emails about that as well. But first year registration is going to be on August 8th and 9th, and transfer registration will be on August 12th and the 13th. So that is when you will want to try to register for your fall classes, potentially waitlist for those classes that allow that. And then, if you are not sure if you want to make some adjustments to your schedule, there will be another opportunity to kind of go ahead and do that, to waitlist courses if you weren't able to do so during your Pass 1. And to make other changes. So that'll be your Pass 2, which will happen between August 19th and September 14th. You can find those pass times in Schedule Builder and also on your OASIS homepage if you're curious about when your appointments are. In addition to these pass times, in addition to group advising, there is orientation that will be happening closer to when you start your time at UC Davis and come to campus with us. That will be September 18th through the 20th, and there will be different times for you to get to know your peers who are also starting at UC Davis, and for you to get to know not just us in the undeclared exploratory team, but also the other dean's office advisors, and even other advisors potentially in our college if you are interested in doing that.
So now we're at the point of our time together for Q&A. So please feel free to continue providing questions through the Q&A function in Zoom. To answer the first question that we have regarding entry-level writing requirement, if you place into Path 4 from the UC Davis Writing Placement Survey, that does satisfy your entry-level writing requirement. That marks it as complete. No additional steps are needed for you to complete entry-level writing, and you are welcome and encouraged to move on to your college composition and writing experience coursework as part of general education. You can also satisfy that entry-level writing requirement by virtue of taking a class here at UC Davis. So if you take the writing placement survey and you don't place into Path 4 and you don't have any other approved or qualifying score to satisfy your entry-level writing requirement, we have a series of classes that students can take. These are all outlined in your Canvas Aggie 101 modules, and we certainly encourage you to enroll in those. So next question here, if you are interested in a major outside of our college, biological sciences, chemical engineering, physics, whatever the case may be, we encourage you and recommend that you work with intended major advising. You have access to their Canvas modules and Canvas pages, and you can learn more about the departments and recommended class scheduling. We encourage students to start taking classes that count toward their intended major. So if you're interested in biological sciences, for example, we would recommend starting with calculus and chemistry as a couple science classes, remembering Hong's recommendations about class scheduling, maybe balance that out with a general education class, arts and humanities class, maybe you still need to do a composition course, something like that. Chem 1 is a good course option for students wanting a little bit more review before they start the general chemistry series, which starts with Chem 2A here at UC Davis. Chem 1 is only offered in the summer and fall. It is not offered winter or spring quarter. So there will be class offerings of Chem 1 during fall quarter, and students can start Chem 2A in winter quarter. A score of a 5, a score of a 4 or 5 on either AP English exam will satisfy the entry-level writing requirement. So students can satisfy that with AP score. They could satisfy that via ACT or SAT score as well. Some of you may even be having, starting at UC Davis with transfer course credit that could satisfy the entry-level writing requirement. Some of you may have completed English coursework at your local community college. That could also be used in some cases to satisfy the entry-level writing requirement. These are great things that we can go over when you meet with an advisor in our office, and we can look at your academic record individually and go forward for there. So Hong or Haley, do you want to answer a question about the recommendation for the number of units? Somebody is talking about moving to Davis from quite a ways away. Is it suggested that I only take 12 units for fall quarter as a student moving from a far way away? Never been to the Davis area and everything is very new or foreign.
Yeah, I could definitely answer that, Jill. So I would recommend taking 12 units and you want to get acclimated to Davis, especially if you're coming from directly from high school, coming to a university setting. UC Davis, we are on a quarter system. So, coming from a different country or state could be a little bit different than coming here to UC Davis. So I would recommend if 12 units is what you can manage and handle as you're getting adjusted to just the life of, being here in California or even in America. I recommend just starting at 12 units. And as you get accustomed to that, you could definitely, the next quarter after that, you could increase your unit. Very similarly, just as if you're a student taking classes at community college and you used to work and go to school, you may want to consider maybe not working your first quarter here to see if you are able to just focus on the academics for a quarter and then consider finding a job or joining extracurricular activity or other opportunities here at Davis. So I would recommend taking 12 units here at Davis minimum to be considered full-time status for housing purposes, for financial aid purposes. And it's totally fine. You don't have to take the 15 units.
Great.
And I can answer, I think I can answer another question since I went over the chemistry and placement exam. Someone wanted me to reiterate where I could find, where they could find the information for the Miss Chemistry and placement window dates. The first link that I provided earlier, which I could provide in the chat again. So for the chemistry, if you go to this website and then if you click on new student orientation placement testing, there is a fall testing window. So if you miss your original testing date, then the next date will be September 4th. So this is for the chemistry. So the first window for the fall will be September 4th to the 10th. And then the second window is September 25th to October 1st. And then for the math placement exam, those dates is going to be September 4th to the 10th for the first session. And then for the second session, it'll be September 25th to October 1st. So I would recommend opening up those websites and bookmarking those websites.
Right. So somebody asked if they received a score on the AP English literature exam, what would that translate to? Haley, would you be able to answer that question?
Joe, could you actually take that one?
Sure.
I could take that one, Joe.
Yeah, so the score of a 3 on an AP English exam will satisfy and give you credit towards satisfying your entry-level writing requirement, but it does not give any type of credit towards the college composition requirement. Students need a 4 or a 5 in order to satisfy credit towards college composition, but a score of a 3 will satisfy the entry-level writing requirement. So it's a good starting point, and we would then encourage you to start taking coursework for college composition, and you could begin receiving writing experience GE credit.
I did provide additional information about the AP as if you've taken the AP or the IB exam and you got a score for that, and you want to know what course UC Davis course credit that will give you, or if you're allowed to repeat the course here at Davis, I did put that in the chat. So if any of you have any AP IB, make sure that you submit the College Board results to us so that can be evaluated and get posted on your UC Davis record.
A couple questions came in regarding course registration. It is important to note that there are some classes at UC Davis that are called major restricted during Pass 1. That means that those classes are only accessible during Pass 1 of registration to specific declared majors only, usually from that department. Students would have to wait until Pass 2 if they are not one of those declared majors to be able to add those classes if there are open seats available. So if you have questions about a specific class, you can start with our office. You could also try contacting the advising services for the department that offers the class for any additional clarification. But Pass 2 would be the time, generally speaking, that you'd be able to attempt to add those classes. We also received a question regarding transfer coursework from a semester-based university. One of the challenges from transfer coursework from semester-based universities to a quarter-based system is that we look at how 2 semesters generally equal 3 quarters. And so when we're talking about classes transferring over, usually it takes 2 classes at a semester-based school to complete a series or a sequence that would require students at Davis to take 3 classes. So in this particular question, it was asking more specifically about a language class, having done language 1 and 2 at a semester-based school, and then kind of moving forward. Here at UC Davis, we would actually recommend that you work with the language department here, and they would be able to appropriately point you in the right direction for a specific class. If you've completed 2 semesters worth of the same language, it's likely that you're moving on beyond level 3 at that point here at UC Davis. So that's a good question to talk to that specific department about.
I could take the next one,
Go
Joe.
for it.
So a student asked about and this is in particular to their record, but I could talk in general. So the question is, I took chemistry 30A at the community college last year, and I didn't pass the placement exam. Is there an opportunity to retake the placement exam? So as I mentioned earlier, if you took, it seems like some of you have some a transferable course credit at a different institution. You have to make sure that when you make it course equivalency here at UC Davis. So making sure that when you come to when you sign up for your classes here at Davis, that you don't sign up for duplication of credit. So for that particular question, if you took chemistry at the community college, you may, and if it's a California community college, you may want to check out assist.org to determine if you get UC Davis, actual UC Davis course equivalency. So that may potentially be Chem 2A. But if you don't get, like Joe said, if a semester you may have to take 2 classes at the community college or a semester school to equivalent to maybe a class here at UC Davis. So if you don't meet the criteria for the exact course articulation or equivalency, then you need to take chemistry for your major, for example. You will need to take the placement exam. Earlier, I did provide you with the resources in the chat in terms of the open window for you to retake the for the chemistry or the math placement exam. All right, and then this I can answer a different question here. I noticed that on the AP chart, it says that duplication credit is allowed for Chem 2A if you got a 5 on the AP exam. What does duplication mean in this case? So that's a great question. So in the AP IB chart, a website that I provide, if you receive UC Davis credit from your AP or IB score, there are certain subject matter that you can duplicate, you could repeat the course. So Chem 2A is one of the courses where if you got a 5 and you want to take Chem 2A here at UC Davis again, you can. That's just a refresher that you could get credit before you proceed on to the Chem 2B. If you decide you want to take Chem 2A here at Davis, the AP exam does not exempt you. You will need to take the chemistry placement exam in order for you to stay enrolled in the Chem 2A and don't be administratively dropped from the course. So the AP chart, there's a column. It says duplication credit allowed. If the that field says yes, and you got AP credit for it, and if you want to duplicate, retake the course, you can. If the that column says no for a particular subject, for the AP exam, you won't be allowed to take it. Repeat it. I mean, if you do, eventually you will get a notification, and we will remove those credit from your record.
And so lastly, this will be the last question for today. Before I answer this, do just want to remind folks during group advising sessions, you will have plenty of time. It's really primarily just for answering and any questions that you all have. You'll be able to meet one-on-one with an advisor. But this last question, I think, is a good one to wrap up with. It's a question about waitlisting and kind of what to do if you waitlist for a course and when you should drop it. Unfortunately, for many students, they might not get into their ideal schedule. Waitlisting is part of the process here, and there's no guarantees that you're able to enroll in a waitlisted class. So from our perspective, we do want to encourage students to have backup classes in mind. If you waitlist for a course, know that you might not get into it at all, and you want to make sure that you have a secondary class or a backup class so that if you don't get into it, you're still enrolled in the minimum of 12 units that's needed for full-time status. So there's no magic date or time that waitlists that you know if you're going to get into the class. Sometimes it's you wait all the way up until the add deadline, which is the 12th day of instruction. Sometimes it's up until the start of instruction, and the instructor just kind of explains that there's nobody's getting in off the wait list. There's a lot of different options that can kind of happen and pop up there. So really what we want to encourage students to do is to have a backup plan in mind. Know that you might not get in off the wait list. You can wait it out into the start of the quarter, but there's no guarantee. One quick thing to consider is that the biggest movement off of the wait lists occur during the registration freeze period when fee payments are due. During that time, students who have not paid their balance or owe balance to the university will be dropped from their classes, and waitlisted students will then roll into those spaces. That will take place on September 15th for fall quarter. That's the fee payment deadline for fall quarter. And that at that point in time, that gives you a really good indication of where you're at on the wait list and if there's chances that you'll get in. But for some students, you might not know until classes actually start. So these are good things to talk to advisors about during your group advising sessions that will be coming up over the next couple weeks. Lastly, you see on the screen right now our contact information, including our telephone number and our email address. We welcome and encourage you to reach out to us and look forward to hearing from you. So with that being said, we hope you have a great rest of your day and look forward to meeting with you soon.